Welcome back, everybody. Now it's time for our grassroots citizen panel. And joining me in studio, as he did previously, is Professor, National Security expert, and economist, and pollster, Chris Street. Chris, I'm telling you, NFL quarterback. It's not on the list.
Not my deal.
All right, okay. So Chris joins us. Also in studio, as he often is writer, comedian, former writer for the Rush Limbaugh Show, Herman Cain's presidential campaign,
among others.
Among others.
Yes.
Rodney Lee Conover. Rodney, good to see you.
Thanks, Rick.
Anything funny coming from this comedian today?
Oh, man, there's lots of funny stuff. We'll get to that soon.
Speaking of funny stuff, Occupy protester, fellow Occupy movement traveler, Jeff Olson joins us. How you doing, Jeff?
Good to see you, Rick.
All right, he's got a mustache only a liberal would love.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You're just jealous because you can't grow one like that.
All right.
Nice.
Let's go to ISIS. We were there earlier. You know what concerns me, Chris Street, is the fact that they are recruiting the believers, radical jihadist believers from all around the world. Concerns me is that we will see those with battle-hardened experience returning to places like Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, London, Paris, with that ideology, but with experience on the battlefield. Is this something that concerns you here in America?
Well, absolutely, Rick, and they're already here. There are already sleeper cells in America. I mean, we have an open border, don't we? Why wouldn't they just walk across? 2 years ago, there was a study in Texas, and about 9% of the people getting caught coming into Texas were from the Middle East.
Say it again.
Coming across the border from Mexico, 9% of the people that were caught were from the Middle East.
Wow. And, of course, sleeper cells from 9/11 were here for years. There's no telling how long these people have been here. Let's go to Rodney. Rodney, you know what's amazing to me? It's dramatic related to this story. Is Hillary Clinton, as we mentioned at the outset of the show, comes out in an interview published on yesterday, Sunday, and blames. I was shocked that she had the chutzpah to call Barack Obama's foreign policy in the Middle East, quote, a failure.
Wasn't she Secretary of State, though?
She sure was.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But, you know, let me get this straight. She's blaming Barack Obama for this. Did he come out with a YouTube video that I haven't seen?
All right.
Because isn't that the usual story?
Yeah, well, she didn't say a word about Benghazi. Well, that was just a real problem over there, Benghazi. But, you know, so she's blamed, called him a failure, blamed his policy. He, of course, blamed George Bush.
He blames George W. Bush.
Right.
I'm the president on this one.
Who blamed Madison.
I think this was W's. I mean, this wasn't necessarily W, but this was his bloodthirsty brainiac neon friends who sent us into Mesopotamia to get involved with a never-ending conflict, a war against a concept, terror, rather than a war against a certain group.
I understand that argument. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand it. Here's where I part companies with that argument, Jeff. I'm going to get your take on this, is that when Barack Obama took over the White House in 2009, he inherited a stable, calm Iraq, one with U.S. troops on the ground. It was his decision to pull U.S. troops out in 2011, and when he pulled those troops out, this is what you got. And he's now blaming Bush on him pulling the troops out.
I don't think we can put this on Professor Berry. I don't think his vacillating on this had made the difference. I think this is a problem that W set us up with that is never going to go away. This will be President Hillary Clinton's problem. This will be President
So you disagree with Hillary Clinton?
Well, I think she's.
Wait.
You know, I'm not. I think she's onto something.
Would you like a lot? I think she's onto something.
I think she's onto something. I think that there was a problem. Clearly, you know, there's been no major victory. There's no reason to come home yet.
It's not what she said, but go ahead.
Well, Rick, let's put it in perspective. You know, 2003, we really did have an oil problem. I mean, I understand. I didn't support the invasion of Iraq, but it's a different world. In 2003, we were reliant on Middle East oil, where America was going to get hammered. Today, we're energy independent. By next month, we'll be the largest producer of oil in the world, passing Saudi Arabia and Russia. And the future is about American oil. Why are we going to spill blood in the Middle East? You want to take these people out? Let's drive oil down to $40 a barrel and defund them.
I like that strategy. It's an underreported story. It's in large part because of fracking, as I understand.
Our best friend.
All right, fracking, not to be confused with jagoff. Both words sound like something else. All right, let's switch gears right now. We have Hillary, Elizabeth Warren. She was in a Lone Ranger, I think, played Tonto, and Rand Paul. A report comes out that Rand Paul is now enemy number one with the Democrats, as every move was followed by a Democratic media strategist in Iowa recently criticizing him for everything. Let's start with our Occupy protester. What do you think of Rand Paul? He's a libertarian more than conservative, as I believe it. We saw him get a standing ovation at CPAC, conservative organization, and then the same week get a standing ovation at Berkeley for
That's
his...
interesting. He occasionally talks common sense, but
occasionally, he's like a clock. He's right, a broken
have
clock.
you noticed how quiet he is lately about Iraq and ISIS? You know, he's the one who told us not to get into Libya. He's the one who told us not to defend our embassies.
He's
in
an
Iraq.
isolationist.
Suddenly he's real quiet this week now that bombs are dropping on Iraq again. I mean, he's pretty much been cut out of that conversation. I'm not sure how he's going to formulate that into a foreign policy that could win a presidential election.
Rodney, I believe Hillary's got a lot of baggage. I mean, what did she accomplish as Secretary of State? The White House fired back today and said, no, she may call us a failure. She bought on, and she bought on everything we stood for.
You know, the thing now is, who's going to follow up Barack Obama for the Democrats?
I know.
You know, Hillary or Elizabeth Warren. You know, when I was a kid, I pretended I was an Indian, you know, about Thanksgiving time in grade school, but most of us grew out of it. Not Elizabeth Warren. Now, I know that, you know, as far as running for president, she may have reservations,
Right.
but I think she's going to. And she even, you know, was asked about running against Hillary. What do you think about Hillary as a candidate? And she said, and I quote, "Woman with large pantsuit, speak with forked tongue." I think that was an exact quote. And I can't believe somebody that has climbed the political ladder based on a gigantic lie that would allow you to take advantage of minority set-aside status.
It's amazing.
She's going to be running for president. I guess that is the next step from Barack Obama, who's been pretending to be a Christian.
By the way, before you, that pantsuit large...
Many moons. I don't
think you wrote that for Herman Cain during his presidential campaign.
No.
You know, Rodney brings up a good point, and either Jeff or Chris. She lied about her minority status, and if it had been anybody else that had an R after their name, the media would have, and rightly so, barbecued that person. She's thinking of a free pass.
Wait a second. She's from Massachusetts, and her long-established academic career, they got to Harvard
Right.
with minority set-aside. But I don't think that's
Took someone's place.
issue. The important issue, you start out with the right issue. Rand Paul is the enemy of the Republican establishment and the Democrat establishment. Let's face it, there's a group of people who run this game in America who are dying to spend money in wars, who are dying to go for it because that's their business. Building government is the business of big government, and that's Republican big government and Democrat big government.
Urban on
Rand Paul is their enemy.
It's true. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. He may have incredible popular support, but it'll be thin.
Ronald Reagan ran up against the same thing.
Yeah, he was
the
the guy.
establishment, Republican establishment, despised Reagan, and he didn't have Fox News, the internet, talk radio, the three of us.
As someone on the left, Jeff Olson, what is it about Rand Paul that you don't like?
Well, I think his philosophy is poisonous.
Which is?
The libertarianism. I mean, I like stop signs and streetlights. I'm not ready for anarchy.
I heard he's against that.
I mean,
Yield, especially.
And I also think he's a grifter, honestly. I mean, he's participating in his family business, which is running for president. I mean, I think he's a political grifter. I think he's part of the grifter class of Republicans.
Of course, Hillary's different.
Hillary is...
She's broke, though.
She's been
She's a real capitalist.
She's also great friends with Wall Street.
Yeah.
So I mean,
indeed,
believe me, she's not my first choice.
Who is your first choice?
I'm
not being facetious.
Elizabeth Warren fan.
Elizabeth Warren.
I think she's great.
You're beating the drums.
She speaks with forked tongue, as Rodney.
But this is what you want. You want a real choice in America. You want the bookend choice. Elizabeth Warren on the one side, you may call her a liberal, but she's big government all the way.
She's a socialist.
And she She's going to be there with big government. Yeah. You may talk the story now, but she's a senator who's getting a lot of money. And on the other side, you're going to have Rand Paul. It's going to have millions of individuals from the left, from the right, from the center. This is the next Reagan Democrat, coalition that's going to come for somebody who's truly independent. We have a real choice in America. That's a different election.
Okay, it would be a different election. And I like as someone, I don't know who I would vote for if the election were held today, but Rand Paul has captured my interest. I'm just looking at him closely, is all I'm saying. I would like that dynamic, Rand Paul versus Elizabeth Warren.
Those would be fascinating debates. They would be substantial debates that wouldn't be mudslinging.